Good evening, everybody. Brian Newbert here from GoldandBlack.com, sitting in a rental car of some kind here off I-65, driving to Alabama. Just like driving. I've done this a number of times, and it's fine. Starting a new little content feature here with this Alabama trip. I feel like when I travel, I get a little too untethered from the daily, hourly content trough responsibilities that come with my job. So I figured what I would do this year is start a little series of like video dispatches to post along the way. Calling them for the time being GoldandBlack.com postcards. Lame, I know. But it's also a nice little vehicle for us to promote our sponsors, our much beloved sponsors. In this case, the East End Grill and Ripple and Company. I'm headed to Alabama right now. There's really good brisket down there, much of which will be consumed by me here in the next 36 hours. The best brisket in town at Purdue, around Purdue, Lafayette, West Lafayette, to me is at Ripple and Company. East End Grill is some of the best food in town, one of the nicest restaurants in town. Ripple and Company is right there with them. They're right across the street, both outstanding. And I would implore all of you to keep them in mind next time you are looking for sustenance in Lafayette, West Lafayette. So Purdue's heading to Alabama here. Big time early season game for Purdue. It's too early in the season for I think anybody to know exactly what they're dealing with. Alabama opened some eyes by beating St. John's the way they beat St. John's in New York City. What's to say St. John's isn't messed up right now? But this returns Purdue, which will benefit from the return of Trey Kaufman-Renn in this game. Having All-Americans is helpful, by the way. This will return Purdue to the site of one of the more interesting games I've ever covered, one of the more interesting experiences I've ever been part of in this silly little job of mine. That was in 2009 when Purdue played in Coleman Coliseum. It was the night Mark Ingram won the Heisman Trophy. It was Alabama's first ever Heisman winner, if you can believe that. Alabama football's history is what it is, and that was their first Heisman winner. They broadcast it live in Coleman Coliseum. The place obviously was ecstatic to hear one of their own had won sports' greatest individual trophy. In my opinion anyway. People forgot there was a basketball game immediately. Purdue might have been among them because Purdue was down 19 points, if I recall correctly, in the second half. Rallied back to win, forced a bunch of turnovers. Chris Kramer, again, if I recall correctly, kind of willed Purdue back into that game, forced a bunch of turnovers, got a bunch of runouts. Really, really special performance there by Purdue. My defining memory, after the game, doing one-on-one interviews outside the locker room, it was either Robbie Hummel or Chris Kramer, still shaking. Not because they were intimidated by me, which they might have been, but because their adrenaline was still pumping so hard after a game that really brought it to its boiling point. That was the sort of second half that was for Purdue. It was just an absolutely memorable win for Purdue, really wild game, and proof once again that in college basketball, at all times, anything is possible. So look, that's what I got for now. I will stop somewhere else along the way probably and post something else just to entertain myself as much as anything. So thanks, everybody.